is it's like a religion. Now, to understand that, think of Buddhism. It's an old, ancient, honorable religion, but there's no deity. But it's a system of philosophy. So what you run into with LGBTQIA plus, et cetera, is a system of philosophy that is being imposed rapidly by the government. It's being crammed down the throats of the kids and the people. You can't put a Christian cross under an American flag on a government building. You can't put the crescent, the Jewish star, a Hindu symbol, or Buddha, or whatever it may be, but you can put a rainbow flag. And you can paint the sidewalks in D.C. rainbow colors, and you can have a government building with a banner rainbow hanging down 11 floors. You see, in other words, the government itself is imposing a religion that it's not giving the citizenry a choice as to whether to follow or not.
What's going on, everyone? Talks with Kenny here today, and welcome to the Inconvenient Truths. Today's Inconvenient Truths is going to be about wokeness. Yes, we're going to be talking about wokeness. And here's the inconvenient truth about wokeness. It is like a religion. It's a system of values, right? And we always hear people, big proponents of wokeness talking about how, everyone must be inclusive, diversity, inclusion, and all this nonsense and all this stuff, right? A lot of these people who, a lot of liberals, a lot of progressives, they march through the institutions, aka take over institutions, because they understand that education is a very big proponent in shaping the future generations of children, right? A famous socialist once said, "He who controls the future, controls the children, controls the future." And this is a battle for our future. What do we want the future of our country to look like? Who do we want our future kids to be? And that relies a lot on education. And the inconvenient truth about wokeism is essentially the same outrage that liberals will have if Christians came out and said that Christianity should be the state religion. Every kid must be instilled with Christian values. They're essentially doing the exact same thing with wokeism, right? You don't give us a position to agree or disagree with this. If I say, hey, I don't respect people's self-identity, I could go to jail. Y'all trying to make legislations to enforce this law, these kind of laws, the hate speech, as you guys will call it, right? And the pure hypocrisy about this point that liberals were the ones that drumbeat, separation of church and state, but they're allowing an ideology to operate like a religion to the point where you got corporations bowing down to it, you got politicians pushing it, young people in colleges reinforcing these behaviors to the point where it's hostile to people. They're hostile to alternative views on these issues, the same way a religious person will consider something blasphemous for questioning the belief systems that they hold. Wokeism displays the same tenets. But hey, I digress. Let's look at this next part where Patrick Bet-David and Judge Brown, they go in a little bit into like the victimhood aspects of wokeism, because wokeness encompasses a lot of different philosophies and things, and a lot of it is based on emotionalism. Let's get into let's get into the clip.
If you tell this to media, won't talk about what you're talking about right now, but people will say that's because of systemic racism. That's because all of that's been the reason why we are where we are right now, Judge. Because you're not being compassionate to see the pain and the suffering and the challenges Black America's experience. It's because of the systemic racism that we have. What would you say?
Yeah, get over it. In other words, buck it up. It's adversity. The world's got adversity. It always has. If it's not a tiger or a lion trying to eat you, it's this. So face it, become prepared to deal with it. Stop looking for excuses, even if there are some. Don't take them. Just say it's something to go conquer. I did something. Now, one thing I will say about this, they have a habit in this country of using black people as guinea pigs. So there is this anti-masculine movement, and back in the 60s, they perceived black men to be the most overtly masculine. So let's attack them first. If we destroyed them and put them in their place, and black women know how to do this well already, then we can make this move up, and then we can do stuff at the top that'll filter down with the propaganda so you unman the country. Meanwhile, the People's Republic of China in January 2021 put an official Man Up campaign in place, and so did Russia some years before. Now,
That's so that that man. Hey, look, this is why they used to say in parables that it's wise to listen to your elders, because this is life experience. He's like pretty much sharing with us, sharing to the public, right? He talks about how like they test these ideas and these theories with the minority groups, aka Black, Hispanic people, and they move their way up towards more affluent groups, right? That on average tend to be more affluent. If I show you the income bracket here, racial income, you see the Blacks at the lowest, then you see Hispanics, then you see whites, and then you see Asians at the top. So I agree with his point where he said that they test a lot of these left-wing ideas on the minority groups, and you see where the Black community is at. They're trying to do that in other communities as well. They want to break down the family, right? They want everyone to be very materialistic to themselves, looking out for themselves, right? And this kind of highlights a lot of the values that's being pushed in our society. And this is the tenets of wokeism. Like, wokeness is not meant to unify. It's not about compassion. It's about dividing people based on a Marxist theory of class, except your class is defined by your race. Here's an example. I'll show a little news clip that I found thanks to Black Conservative Perspective. I want to share this clip that kind of encapsulates some of the ways that Judge Brown was calling out this nonsense, because we let wokeism, we let our culture, his inconvenient truth about wokeism is based on emotionalism. It's not based in reality. It's based on imagination. The reality of the world is that all human beings face struggle. All human beings face adversity. But for some reason, based on someone's skin color, we're supposed to take their adversity more than other people. And here's an example of this in this next clip. Let's take a look.
On Catholic University's campus,
and I want to hear from each group.
Graduate students like Sarah and Nestor are preparing for a career helping others.
You're going to be a social worker.
Sarah is from Southeast DC and wants to fill a gap she discovered when she was the one who needed help.
When I searched for therapists in DC, finding a Black therapist as a woman who would see the same worldviews as me was almost nil to none.
The News 4i team sat down with the students, Sarah, Carla Abney, Emily Fortiz, and Raquel Ruiz, as DC contemplates changing what it takes to become a social worker. Only one of them, PhD candidate Carla, has taken the exam needed to become what's called a licensed graduate social worker.
It was one of the toughest things I've ever done.
She passed, but the I-team found there's growing concern that too few people who look like her are passing too.
What the exam is doing is de-diversifying the profession.
And this is why it's a religion. Like you heard it from his mouth. This is a news story that recently came out, I believe. Shout out to Black Conservative Perspective. But that proves the example about wokeism. It's a system of values, and all of us must follow it or else, right? They're mad at this, and the reason why they're bringing up the racial biases of social work debate is that only 33% of Black test takers pass these tests, and they think it's due to racial bias. All I have to ask is, hey, can you give us a sample of the test, and we can see where the racial bias is at. They didn't highlight any of that during the news story that from what I can see. And this is the problem I have with wokeness, right? It claims to want to unite the country, we want to be inclusive and all this stuff, but it's not really inclusive. It's only inclusive to people who are open to this ideology, this religion. If you believe, then you are accepted. If you don't believe, then you're not. You're excluded, right? If you say, oh, well, it just so happened that these people who have a hard time passing these tests are Black. That's what happened to. And I already tell you, I can go down historical. Hey, Black people don't invest in education as much as they do in other things, right? Asian people perform well on tests because they tend to do more homework. You see, the behaviors is what's driving the outcomes. It's not necessarily their race. Most Black people, they come from low income areas, right? For the most part. Black kids are not given academic skills at a young age. All you have to do is look at the high school graduation rate for black students, and you'll find out a lot of them graduate high school with low proficiency rates in reading, math. Name the subject, Black people are below proficiency levels. That's according to the National Education Association. Go look it up. So These people, these group of people who tend to not be properly academically equipped, and they're out here trying to take social worker tests and things, all this stuff, and you see why they have disproportional outcomes. My argument is due to behavior. These kids, these group of people have not invested in education to the point to giving their kids proper skills to be successful in this arena. That's why they're failing the test, not because of racial bias. But I digress. When you think rationally like this, people want to hit you with feelings. And I think by this last clip I'm gonna show for this video, Judge Brown, I think this is a message a lot of us need to hear, a lot of our culture need to hear, and a lot of minority groups really need to hear. Let's take a look.
When I was on the bench toward the last few years, why'd you do this, young man? I was emotional. Would you please give the court a reason for why you did this? Okay, you were emotional, but what was your reason? You're asking the court not to send you to jail and put you on probation. But I was emotional. What? You started getting this kind of nonsense where it becomes a thing where the population has been propagandized into dysfunction. I mean, it's like, see, if you're going to have a healthy community, you have to have a balance between what the individual does and what the individual obligates himself to when it comes to the whole community. Duty, honor, obligation, responsibility, accountability, duty devolving into courage and elevating itself into bravery, so that what you're about is making where you live a better, safer, more secure place filled with economic prosperity, opportunity, all kinds of things, public peace, dignity, and order, where you are a man of public peace who can be brave and courageous when necessary. When the Titanic goes down, you say, ma'am, you and your child have my seat, I'll drown with the boat. But nowadays, some little fluffy comes in here with a dress. He wants to sit down and say, oh, hell no, get your ass up. I'm going to throw you over there and let's chum the sharks, which would make everybody else safe. Really, it is not all right to be a coward. We used to hunt as our number one first profession. And if you're going to do that, you have to have somebody watching your back, your six, so that people would be willing to put it on the line for each other. That's bravery and courage. And now they want to say, whoa, that's okay, forget it, it's okay to be a coward. I even ran into something at one library I just stumbled into. I walked in, and they were conducting a class with some kids about anti-hero. You don't want to be a hero. Being a hero is bad. Like, where the hell did these fools come from?
Yeah, it's good to be a victim, right? We're glorifying victimhood. We're glorifying helplessness. We don't want to be people who believe in doing for ourselves. Government, get out of the way. Hey, I don't need no help. I can lift myself by my bootstraps, right? Liberals hate hearing conservatives talk this way, right? Liberals always get mad about how, why you guys care so much? Because you care so much. You care about kids knowing what gayness is, what transgender is, all this fetishizing stuff, what a furry is, what they identify as. You care enough that you're trying to instill these values or transmit these values to our children. And you want to get mad that we notice? That's what it seems like it is with wokeness. Right? And based on all I showed you in the past few clips and videos, I grew up like this. Like, my dad used to always tell me, hey, Ken, you got to be so good they can't deny you. AKA, you got to compete. If you don't compete, you lose by default, right? I can bring another example about how behavior determines your outcomes. There's stats out there that says that black women are the most divorced and least married group of women in America, right? And look at the culture. What the culture tells black women to do. Oh, I don't need no man. I could be strong and independent. I don't chase a man. Men chase me, right? And you know how it is out here. Good men are hard to find. But you don't want to chase him. You expect him to come and approach you, right? And then you get mad when you lose out to other people. That's the same argument I'm making about competing. Black women are taught in our culture, in black culture, not to compete for good men. So then when they get mad, they get the scraps. They get the ain't-ish baby daddies. Hey, you get what you deserve. You didn't want to compete for a good man. So you got you got the leftovers. I'm just being honest. That's behavior. That wasn't because you're raised. That's not because of systematic racism. It's behaviors and culture. Cultures create a tradition of behaviors, and you have a choice. You either adopt those traditions or you don't. This is why a lot of black men or black people who kind of reject the black culture tend to be successful in this country. Because the tradition is passing down bad habits, bad behaviors that gives bad outcomes. And that's the reality. But wokeism wants you to focus on emotionalism, how you feel about the thing. I feel like this test is racist, therefore it is because I'm a black woman. I'm a black man. I'm exert in identity here. That's why I got a bad outcome. It's because of this bias. And we're chasing around wrong problems that have nothing to do with the actual core of the problem. We want to fix symptoms of the problem instead of fixing the core issues of the problem. And that's the inconvenient truth about wokeism. It doesn't really fix anything. It creates more division. It perpetrates prejudice, eternal, right? And it's merely a hustle for people to get sentiment and entitlement to outcomes they don't deserve. But that's just my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comment section. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. I really do appreciate you guys for watching to the end of the video. And I'll catch you guys on the next Inconvenient Truths. Peace.